Welcome to the Gas It Out podcast. For those of a sensitive persuasion, a word of warning. There really is hardly any profanity or naughtiness, but occasionally Hodgie will let his enthusiasm get the better of him and might make reference to a private part or even use one of those soft bad words that they used before the watershed on a particularly heavy episode of EastEnders. But I don't think your kids are going to turn into tearaways. Do you know what bike that is in the intro, by the way? Have you worked it out yet?
It sounded like a Ducati.
Oh, did it sound like a Ducati? Did it?
It did.
Or did it?
Yes.
Or did it? Well, I think we should get people to write in what bike they think that is.
Right.
And who is on it.
As well. I like that. I need to listen to it again now. You've said that. I didn't know it was a competition. Now it's serious.
It wasn't a competition until now. Hello, everyone. Welcome once more to the Gas It Out podcast. I'm Gavin Emmett. The voice you're hearing on the other end, sipping his coffee, is Neil Hodgson. And we're hoping to keep you entertained while you are locked indoors. That does sound a bit of a dystopian nightmare, doesn't it? Locked inside with Hodgie rabbiting away in your ears, drinking coffee.
Right, let me dictionary. Don't throw the big words too early, Gav. It's still relatively early this morning.
You know, I've got that. You know, some people don't like noises in their ear. Have you seen that thing, ASMR, where people get really close and talking to the microphone like that and whisper?
Yeah.
Creepy. Some people love it, though. Oh, my God, it puts me on edge. It's like fingers down a blackboard for me.
Yeah.
Anyway,
you love all that, don't you, though?
Oh, I can't stand it. Can't stand it. Anyway, by the way, Neil, Gas It Out seems to be doing the trick. So thanks everyone to listening so far who's been listening. We do appreciate all the comments too. Very kind, especially those on iTunes and Apple, because this is the first time we've actually recorded since we've gone on air. It's not on air, but do you know what I mean? Since we've actually published everything. And we are on iTunes now, which I'm chuffed about. Neil, that's good, isn't it?
Well, you said from day one that's the goal. You know, hopefully we can get accepted onto iTunes, and we've got accepted pretty much straight away. So, according to
official stat merchant Dr. Martin Rains, Neil, 70% of podcasts are listened to there.
Okay, that's good then.
Stick that.
That's really positive. Hey, and what about the feedback we've had already? We got some feedback yesterday. Sparky 1971. He said it's like being down the pub with your expert mates. But he put expert in brackets, so I don't know why he had to put that in brackets. But people seem to be enjoying it, Gav.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably talking about me on that one. Although it is actually a bit like being down the pub because I'm still having to get my own drinks.
Haha.
Yeah.
Nothing changes.
I tell you what, Joanne was another one who sent in a bit of correspondence. Remember you were talking about being Grandma's favourite, housewife's favourite? Joanne says, sorry, Neil, but Gav has to be this Nana's guilty crush.
Oh, is that Joanne? Your only female friend, Joanne? There we go.
And Lewis as well. Keep it going. Great listening. I'm only actually saying that because I don't want. I would never do put it, but he's a Leeds United fan, so instant respect, Neil.
Leeds United.
Do you agree?
God. What's going to happen? Just quickly, what is going to happen now? Because obviously Leeds are top of the Championship. What will happen, Gav?
We don't discuss it, do we, Lewis? We don't talk about it.
What will happen?
We're going to get promoted. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. We're going to get promoted. Let's not talk about football. Not only have I revealed I'm a Leeds United fan, that will make half the people switch off, but the majority of people listening to this are motorcycle fans, and a majority of them aren't big football fans. I suggest. I don't know. So they're all switched off. So if you have stuck with us now, thank you very much. Hey, the name's Gas It Out's popular still, Neil. You're not convinced yet?
What? Yeah, I've still not come up with anything. I know that was you only give me one job. It's tricky. I've been flat out though since we last talked.
Have you? What have you been doing?
Well, some paint arrived from Amazon the other day. Some more shed paint.
Are you trying to get a deal with Amazon there on paint? For all your paint needs, go to Amazon.
Just like if you mention Amazon.
Jeff Bezos will be on the phone tomorrow.
Just looking out the window, I can just see a Ferrari driving past. There you go. Anyone listening from Ferrari? And I'm just trying to think what I want in my life. Claudia Schiffer.
your girlfriend's going to listen to this, so you should be careful on that one.
There's one thing I know, right? Vic's out the house at the moment. Oh, thank God. Right, we don't spend, me and Vic, we've been together for 6 years. I've got a great relationship with Vic. There is no way she'll listen to this, so I can say it. But
is she doing her exercise, or is she doing a shop?
She's doing a shop for mum and dad and our next door neighbour. We've got.
Oh, that's really very kind of you. In fact,
neighbours. She's loving it. It's like she's such a nice person, caring. Like she's nothing like me. So
I'm going to say.
Anyway, Gav, I need to talk about it while she's out the house. For God's sake, my relationship with her is rock solid. We get on so well. I've discovered the reason why.
Why?
It's because we don't see each other. Like, I am not joking, and I'm sure there's a lot of people at home going through the exact same thing. Tell you what, we've been at each other a little bit.
Oh, really? Already?
Already. Exactly.
Blimey.
So, I'm having to stay out the house as much as I can. I'm just
sat in the garden.
She's like, "You still painting the fence?" I'm like, "Yeah." No,
you finished that last week.
12 coats, a fence. So
superb. I do like that.
So yeah.
I for my girlfriend Kate, who I mentioned before, works for the NHS. They had the big clapping, didn't they? The big clap at 8 o'clock. Yeah. We missed it.
No,
we missed it. Yeah, I had to give her a private clap.
A private clap.
I've just realised that.
Oh, God.
Yeah, but we completely missed it. We were in the kitchen faffing about with the dog or something like that. I can't remember what it was, feeding the dog.
Brilliant. I
and
love it.
Completely and utterly missed it. And then she's watched them all back and go, "Oh my God, I can't believe you distracted me." I was like, "No, I didn't. I want to point out one thing that she sent me is a link, goodsamup.org/NHS. Have you signed up for that? I signed up.
I don't even know. What is it?
That's the one where you can sign up to be a volunteer for the NHS, call people who are vulnerable, that kind of thing, and help out. This is in the UK, of course. Because I know there are people actually listening from outside of the UK, people in the States I've heard from, people in Australia as well. So, but sign up and help out people. There's a lot of people stuck at home, and it sounds like Vic's doing it. She's the one with the good heart in your relationship, let's put it that way.
She definitely is, we know that. Hey, also, guess what, this week I watched the marble racing, and I love it.
Yeah?
What a course.
It's cracking, isn't it?
To sort of prepare all these chicanes. It just keeps going on.
I know, you think
it sounds
it's going to end now,
boring.
It's going to end.
It, though?
The light blue, the light blue is handy. Everyone I've seen, the light blue's right up there. Yeah, marble racing, go for it. We talked about that in the first podcast, so get the marble racing on. In terms of MotoGP racing, actually, latest news: Jerez, the Spanish Grand Prix, has been delayed indefinitely. In theory, the season now starts in MotoGP May the 17th in Le Mans. I can't see it, personally, with how things are in France. They've already moved the 24 hours from April to, well, it was originally September, now to August. But Mugello would be next after that, start of June, and Catalonia, two places that are really badly affected. It's difficult to see, isn't it, at this moment in time where MotoGP might start?
Yeah, I can't even get my head around it. So I think if it does go ahead, it might start in October time or something like that, and they just cram a load of rounds together. There's talk that they can run into January potentially as part of the championship.
And why not?
And have
you
no
could
winter
obviously race at
testing.
Silverstone
Why not?
in December or January, but Malaysia could, and so a lot of the tracks we go to, I think you could manage it. So fingers crossed that something happens. If you are missing your bike fix, obviously listen to Gas It Out all the way through, and the bonus content at the end, which we had on the last episode. But there's also a virtual esport race going on. You'll have seen it. Maverick Vinales is taking on Marc Marquez and Alex Rins and Fabio Quartararo. They're doing it on the MotoGP 19 game, and it's being broadcast on MotoGP.com. And BT are also doing it for those in the UK. It's going out on their Facebook page. People say, why is it not on the TV? So on and so forth. Because it's one of these where the programme start time isn't guaranteed, nor the end time, and they don't know. You know what I mean? They can't work it out. So it's going on their Facebook page and hopefully on Twitter as well. That's good.
Right. That's good news.
We've got our own programme to talk about as well, haven't we, Neil? On Sunday, BT Sport 1. We've made it big time. We're on BT Sport 1. And Neil, we are going live from home.
I'm so nervous about this. I can't imagine how this is going to work. So everything's being done remotely. So the producers, directors, sound men.
Yeah, the producer's in Norwich. The director's in West London. The sound guys are in the garage, or the sound guy is in his garage down in Surrey. We've got people running the videos out from their back bedrooms. People vision mixing from Essex and London, and everyone. Basically, it's all individuals around the country connected by broadband and phone. And myself and Neil at home. We've got full studio set up in our houses. Now, well, actually, I've got to set it up today, to be honest.
Yeah. So have I.
And yeah, we've got a couple of iPhones, and we've got cameras and lights, and it's making my head hurt. But
I've got a headache looking at all the stuff we've got to set up, because you know what I'm like. I can just about turn my phone on and off. So
yeah, that's it. Yeah. It is true. You are a technophobe in some ways, aren't you? But
yeah, absolutely.
How cool is the program? So because we've got no racing on, what can we do? And we've been throwing these things around, and North One, who make the programme alongside BT Sport, have come up with a great idea to choose the greatest race of the MotoGP era. And so over the next 4 weekends, we're going to have 4 races on a Sunday. So 4 this Sunday, 4 the Sunday after, 4 after that, 16 in total. And then the 5th weekend, we've picked the best, or you at home, the fans, will pick the best from each week, and they'll go head-to-head on that final Sunday. And we will get the best MotoGP race of the era since 2002. And people will say, why that? Because it's all about rights and things that they're the only ones that we can have access to. Some people go, 1979, Silverstone, Sheen and Roberts, or what have you. We don't have that. Nobody has that or cleared, and so we're allowed to use it on telly. But how excited are you? It's a Rossi special on Sunday, Neil.
Oh, well, we've been doing our homework, haven't we, Gav? I've been watching the races. I watched a couple this morning first thing. Oh, you just forget the quality sometimes. You know, in the back of your mind, not of Valentino Rossi, the quality of the races. You know, the way that some of those last corners, the way that Rossi stalks his opponents. He is like a cat and a mouse, isn't he? He just plays with them. And which I can't wait for Sunday.
There's going to be a Marc Marquez episode, I think, later on. But this weekend it's 4 Rossi victories that we're doing, because they are fantastic races. There's Velcom 2004, first win with the Yamaha. There's Barcelona, which is an all-time classic himself from Jorge Lorenzo. There's Jerez 2005, the scrap with Sete Gibernau that went down to the final corner. And there's also Assen 2015, which also went down to the final corner with Marc Marquez. But Marc has been a bit cat and mouse, but he was definitely the mouse in that Assen one. You've been watching that one, haven't you?
Yeah. I mean, Rossi controlled the race, but then obviously it went down to the last corner, and it's a bizarre last corner. What I like about the races, I've watched all 4 now. Even though you've seen them before, it's like watching a classic film. It's like watching Shawshank Redemption, where you go, I could just sit and watch that 20 or 30 times.
You know what's going to happen, these races. But you still,
exactly.
You don't know. Yeah, as it's almost if you've never seen it before.
Yeah, that's sweaty palms, all that sort of stuff. So that's on Sunday, and we're going to do it every Sunday, aren't we? So it's like the Rossi Sunday this Sunday, then next Sunday. I don't know if is that we're going to do a Lorenzo one.
I think there's a Lorenzo Stoner one. Marquez. There's a few different ones. So yeah, that's going to come on BT Sport.
Yeah, plenty of bike racing, great races.
And we're going to chat about it and analyse it exactly, aren't we?
Yeah, do the programme around it. So should be fun. I'm looking forward to it anyway. And I know the quality of the races, so we're in for a right treat. Yeah,
that's the greatest race, BT Sport 1, on Sunday, 4 hours and we will be chatting live. It's not like we're recording it or anything. We are going live. It's a massive technical undertaking. Thanks to everyone at BT for putting it together from our point of view, because we know how hard they are working behind the scenes to get something out there for all the fans and subscribers. It's not an easy time. They don't have any live sport, so we're doing what we can to try and keep you guys happy. We better have a quick chat, Neil, about our guest today, who is 2-time Grand Prix winner. He is a Petronas rider. He rides on the Honda Petronas in Moto3. Finished on the podium in the opening round of this year's World Championship in Qatar. That was the only Moto2 and Moto3 were running. It is, of course, Scotland and Britain's John McPhee, and he's a good pal of ours, isn't he, Neil?
John McPhee, John McFast, Wee McPhee, McFun. We've got so many names for him. Good pal. I've got to say this, right, he's my favourite. I've been thinking about him. Obviously, I knew we were going to talk to him today. We're so lucky. I feel like he's my son almost. Because do you know what I mean?
But we have watched him, haven't we?
Yeah.
Grow up.
Literally grow up. From being a young kid to being where he is now. He's lying second in the World Championship after one round and looks like a class act. We love this man. You genuinely won't meet a nicer character. Yeah,
so we're going to speak to the Scot, who I remember when you first interviewed him, Neil. In fact, we should probably talk to him about that. But you got told off about how to name his own hometown, didn't you?
It was funny. It's really my first sort of dealings with him. So this was back in, this was 2014, the official test before the season starts. And I sat down with him and I said, well, first of all, John McPhee, age whatever he was then, 18, from Auburn. And he went, I'll have to stop you there, Neil. I can't really do the accent. I'll have to stop you there, Neil. No,
that's the best part. It's going to be no wonder he got annoyed.
What's funny about this is this joke is stuck with John, even though he doesn't know about it. We've always laughed about it. He says, it's not Auburn, it's Auburn. And I went, you are? He went, it's not Auburn, it's Auburn. And I was like, yeah, well, whatever, John. Auburn. He just said it the same both times. So we never knew what was the correct pronunciation of Auburn. But it's John McPhee from Auburn.
Brilliant. Let's hear from him. John, you there? Good morning.
Hi, Gab. Good morning.
Can you hear me? Can you hear Neil?
Is that the world famous Wee McPhee McFast? Housewives, not really favourite, but young girls' favourite. How's that, John?
Young girls' favourite. Am I taking over for you, am I?
How are you, John?
I'm good, thanks. How are you guys?
We're coping. Me and Gav are coping. We're staying in touch. We speak every day, me and Gav. Gav's missing me more than I'm missing him. But
what we're
finding this podcast.
Yeah, what we're finding, John, is with the podcast, we're actually speaking to more people than we ever get a chance to at home anyway. So you're back in Scotland now, aren't you, in Auburn?
I am, yeah. It wasn't planned. I actually came back to visit family, visit my girlfriend, and with all the travel restrictions, ended up getting stuck here, so couldn't travel back out to Andorra. Definitely worse places to be stuck, but yeah, I will be here for the foreseeable future now.
That's better than would you have been stuck by yourself in Andorra?
I need to jump in, Gav.
Go on.
Gav, I need to jump in. John, is it Auburn or is it Auburn?
Well, neither of them really. It's kind of hard for that accent.
What? Don't tell me there's a third.
Brilliant.
Don't tell me there's a third.
You've got it wrong again.
I don't know. I mean, different people say it differently, but I would say Auburn.
And you said it the same again.
He can't have it. He can't get it right.
Gav, it's not Auburn, and it's definitely not Auburn, but it's Auburn. We've got there in the end. Right, sorry, John. Go on.
All I know is it's a good whiskey. Well, that's what I know.
It is a good whiskey.
And actually, I went up there once with Bradley Smith, came to Glencoe and did a walk, actually. We were doing a feature with MCN, and it's absolutely stunning up there, John.
I seen that feature you've done. That was so brave planning that in. I don't know how you managed to get away with that, because it was dry the whole time, wasn't it?
I know, and it was beautiful. But I absolutely got bitten to death by midges.
By midges, yeah. That's the one big downside. Then summer here, it's absolutely beautiful. I've got to say, it is one of the nicest countries, but it only ever you get about 2 weeks of summer, and then the rest of the time it's peeing down with rain. So
I don't know. That sounds harsh to me. That sounds harsh. I see all those beautiful photos. Do you live near the water there?
I do, yeah.
Wow.
We can, literally a stone throw from the water. So I'm at my mum and dad's place at the minute. I don't have my own place here, but yeah, we can see the Connell Bridge, the famous Connell Bridge.
It sounds beautiful, and I know what it is like up there. And the thing as well, John, as a Scot, right, you're popular across the country amongst motorcyclists, but Scots are fiercely proud of their own, aren't they? Especially doing anything on the world stage. That must feel amazing when you travel around the world to represent. And you've always got the Sol tire on your helmet too.
Yeah, I mean it's different. It's not so common, obviously. With the last one being Neil McKenzie. Sorry, can't get them two mixed up.
Easy to do.
Yeah,
easy to do.
It's different. I mean, we only have kind of two tracks here in Scotland. You have Knockhill and East Fortune, so it's I'd say it's not the simplest route to try and get onto the world stage, coming from anywhere in the UK really, but especially from Scotland.
I was going to ask about that, about being on the world stage, because we hear now, right, about a lot of people having to pay for their rides in Moto3, and some people falling by the wayside because they're not able to raise the money. You're in a fantastic team, and I'm sure this is probably one of the best places that you've ever been. I know you came through a great system with Racing Steps Foundation and what have you, but what a team you have. I just wonder about the advantages, disadvantages of being a Brit and staying and being in the championship Moto3.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's definitely been some tough years throughout my whole kind of world championship career so far. But yeah, now, certainly in the best team, hands down, that I've been in, and the most professional. They have the funding, they have the support there, and it makes just such a big difference. Such a huge difference. You can't really compare. It's one of them kind of, you turn up at every race weekend and they're always bringing new things to the table and they're always on their A game. And with the class being so close now, it makes the rider be able to just focus on riding the bike and not have any other distractions outside of that.
You've ridden for private teams in the past, Neil, where there was no support, that kind of thing. It's not easy. It's another thing that you don't want to have to think about, isn't it?
No, and it's another thing people don't realise sat at home. They might be watching John race and, go, that's been a disappointing result, but they've not seen what's going on in the background. And as we said right at the beginning of this podcast, we all are very close to John. I've spent a lot of time in and around him in his garages over the years, really, with different teams. He's swapped and changed teams a lot. And I can say this, John can't. Some of the teams he's ridden for have been terrible. Like I say, John won't say that. But I've been standing there.
I think terrible is a harsh word, but yeah, I get where you're coming from.
It's terrible. What in respect to your job as a team, and obviously you're the rider, is to try and win races, and you're there on second-hand parts. Let's say not top quality personnel. It's a reality of the paddock. Teams work with the budgets they've got, but the hard bit when all that's happening is from the rider's standpoint. So for John, is to keep calm and keep that self-belief that, keep working, keep doing the right thing. Hopefully, eventually, I'll get spotted, I'll get an opportunity. And that's where racing in Grand Prix is so difficult, because you have to go through the difficult teams, the ones that aren't as qualified, skilled, financially supported. That's what John's done. And that's why now we're seeing John in his second year in the Petronas team, arguably one of the best teams now in that championship. And look at the difference now. Obviously, it's like it's a perfect marriage, I feel like. Everything's come together at the right time. John's experience, confidence, and now he's in the right teams to fight for a world title.
Yeah, and the one thing for me that always gets me is, John, you're not having to pay for the ride. And you have been lucky. We had the support of Racing Steps originally, didn't you, who helped you get on, but other people haven't had that. And what do you make of the whole idea of someone paying for a world championship ride? It doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah, it doesn't sit right with me either. I mean, going back to the Racing Steps, obviously I'm very, very grateful for everything they done for me, because they were the ones that brought me into the world championship. They took me out of the UK, which as a British rider is one of the hardest things to do, is leave the UK. Took me through the Spanish championship route, and then they basically paid for the first 2 years of my my racing career.
Didn't Bradley Smith help out as well?
Yeah, so that was kind of going back towards the British Championship times. Right. It was KRP, and it was supported by Bradley Smith as well. and then he was a little bit of a rider coach with the racing steps. He would kind of come along. I personally didn't get to do it, but he done it with some of the other guys. He took them to some tracks and gave them some one-to-one tuition, and he was always there. He was always helping the cause. And yeah, obviously, all of us guys were looking up to Brad, and seeing what he was doing. So it was really good for him to take time out of his season as well and help us along the way. But yeah, going back to your question, I think it's tough because now, especially in the last kind of 2 or 3 years, the prices have just shot up. I mean, I've heard some absolutely ridiculous sums of money that people have been paying. And quite frankly, if it came to that now, if I was in a position where I was having to pay for a ride, I definitely 100% wouldn't be in the paddock. So there's guys.
John, give us some numbers, just so that the people at home, because people won't know when you say ridiculous amount of money, what we're talking to buy a Moto3 ride, for the year.
Well, I've heard a couple now as much as like €600,000 for one season.
What?
It's like, where do you possibly start getting that money from?
See, originally, I remember it being around the 100 grand mark, and people would talk about that. And then I'd heard last year people asking 300 grand. I didn't realise it was getting even more ridiculous.
Yeah, well, to put it into kind of perspective, I came into World Championship in 2013, and kind of back then, a cheap team, I guess you'd be looking at kind of around 100,000 is kind of the ballpark. And there was teams like some of the higher teams up then, the likes of your Calvo or any of them teams, they were asking kind of 250, 300, and back then it was impossible. And now, from what I can understand, if you want to kind of buy into one of the the least respected kind of teams in the paddock, they're kind of asking 250, 300 just to kind of get a starter into the World Championship. So it's a little bit crazy. There's definitely talent out there which I feel like deserve the seat more than a couple of people that are in the championship, but it's unfortunately the way it's going.
I'm absolutely flabbergasted by that, aren't you, Neil? Who has that kind of money?
The thing is, Gav, what I've always said with paying for your ride is the problem with it, and if it's, let's say, not 600, if it's 300,000 euros, do you know what you get at the end of the year? Nothing. Do you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. If you finished, let's say, well inside the top 10 in the championship, you've had a few podiums, you might then progress to getting a ride for free. But if you don't, you give the team your 300,000, you ride round for the season with them, and at the end, if you want to go racing again, guess what? You have to find another 300 grand.
Yeah.
And it's impossible figures, aren't they?
And how many times have we seen it where people have stumped up some cash at the start and they haven't even ended the season with the team that they've been funding?
Yeah, exactly that. And I mean, don't get me wrong. When I'm saying 600, it's not that every rider's paying that. That's kind of your one or two kind of special cases where, obviously the team need money and the rider's desperate for a ride, and that's the kind of sums that the odd one or two riders are bringing to the table, and that's what your people who are maybe a little bit more talented and still have money, they still have maybe 100,000 or 150,000 to bring to the teams. But when the teams are seeing these different values, obviously they're not really caring about an extra one or two positions in the timesheets. They'd rather take the extra money.
Amazing. You have to raise that, find all the sponsorship. I don't know really any rich kids, to be fair, in Moto3. I know there are a couple who've got a little bit of cash, but someone who can be stumping up that kind of money every year just doesn't exist. So you've got to go and find the sponsorship. It just takes away from your racing. John, why do you think you've been able to survive then in the championship where others have fallen by the wayside? And I mean really in British terms as well.
It's I don't know. I mean, it's a difficult one. Obviously, getting that step in the door with the racing steps and the backing that they gave me to get 2 years, I think, is so important because it's so hard only coming into the championship and only having one season to really be able to prove yourself. So, obviously getting 2 years right at the start was a massive help, and then going on from there. I mean, there's been honestly up until I think last year, I've kind of got to the end of the season and thought, I don't know what I'm doing now. I don't know whether I'm going home, whether I'm staying, what team I'm going to be with. So it's been, obviously there's been a bit of luck in myself There's definitely been, along the way, there's also been some bad luck on my side because there've been some good opportunities that have fallen through. But yeah, it's hard to say exactly why. But obviously, being a Brit makes a big difference because there's not many of us around in the lower classes that Dorna are looking to bring through. So they've obviously done a big part as well. Like going back to 2017 with the British Talent Team, where they got that up and running, and the British Talent Cup to try and keep more nationalities in the championship. So yeah, there's been support from all different areas, but I'd like to think that I can look back as well on every season I've had, and okay, there's been some seasons that have been much more difficult than others, but I've been able to look back on every season and kind of take at least a handful of results that I'm really happy with and kind of proud of. Yeah, going back as far as 2015, we've been on the podium now every year since 2015. So it's difficult to know, but yeah, everything's kind of fallen into place now. It's taken a long time to get to the position that I'm in, but
you've been in Moto3 now for a number of years that you've had a full seasons, and actually no one really thought that was possible anymore. Some stick around, but it's not by choice. You have wanted, haven't you, to push on. It's just, as you mentioned, being, whether it's paying for rides or having the support, the best option's been in Moto3, hasn't it? And a number of times.
Yeah, exactly that. And kind of since I think since 2017 has been when I've really started looking at the Moto2 option, and after a couple of races in 2017 when we started the season really strong, that was my main focus. To then going on kind of 1 year later, or not even 1 year later, getting towards the end of the season, and with the British Talent Team folding, I was nearly out of a ride. I never had anything on the table. So yeah, it can just chop and change from one race to the other. I always try and stick by people. People always remember you by your last race. They never remember anything else.
Well, do you know what? You are only as good as your last result. And yours was a second place in Qatar. It's lasted for quite a while. We don't know when the next race is going to be. But I'll give you a stat on that one, John, as well. This is for a Dr. Martin Rains special. The championship winner has been on the podium in Qatar every year since 2007, apart from 2008 when Mike D'Amelio was fourth. But still, so one of you, Arenas, Albert and Ayagura are going to be champions this year. That sounds all right, doesn't it?
That sounds good, yeah. I would take that, definitely.
Tell you what, can I just jump in? Gav, you love that stat.
Oh, I can't get over it. I think it's a great stat.
That stat now about 10 times.
All right.
Can that be the last time you recite it? I'm bored of that stat. All right.
Well, maybe. It depends, though. I'll bring it out again at the end of the season that we are definitely going to have. When
well,
John's
if we don't have a season,
it'll
prove to be right.
Exactly.
That's a fact.
Well, you know.
John, can I just jump in? Obviously you've been doing Moto3 for, is it your 8th season or 7th season?
Yeah, 8th season.
Over those years, when I look at some of the races you've been involved in and some of the guys you've raced against, and I'm looking at, like, now there's a chunk of them. They've got Rins, Vinales, Miller, Mia, Oliveira, Binder and Bagnaia all in MotoGP. The question is, who's been a standout rider that over those years you've been on track with and you've thought, oh my God, I can't believe what this kid can do on a motorcycle? Has there been a standout rider that you've been riding against?
Yeah, I think out of all of the above, I'd have to say Vinales. He was one I actually remember following him in Barcelona, and as a Brit, one of the typical things we always do, and I remember looking back now and actually laughing, you always go back in and say, I followed whoever, or I followed this guy or that guy, and he's rubbish on the brakes. But then he gets to the fast corners and it just disappears. And that was exactly what happened. I was on his wheel, riding kind of above my limit at that time, trying to stay with him. And we got to the final 2 corners in Barcelona, and he was just carrying so much corner speed. It just blew my mind at the time. I couldn't understand how that was physically possible. And he's definitely one of the riders that, looking back, he had something special, even all the way back when he was in Moto3. And the bikes were a lot, they're much less power than they are now. But still, he was able to do the lap times just by the sheer corner speed that he had.
And And then, like, the opposite is there any of those sorts of riders that you've raced with and you've, let's say, almost not rated? You've thought, well, I'm every bit as good as him, but they've gone on to, like, great things and been MotoGPs. Is there any of those riders that you think, well, actually, for example, Oliveira, I never really rated, or Binder, or what, is there anyone?
I don't know. I think it would be hard to say. It's a little
Only hard to say because they'd give you a knocking afterwards. You can say it to us. We're amongst friends.
There is a couple. I'll say there is a couple that, for whatever reason, managed to get forward without even really having the full results behind them. But I'm not gonna
name them. Name them.
Start with Neil Hodgson.
Oh, that goes without saying. Right, come on, John. The way this podcast works, it's called the Honest Podcast. So go on. Don't you worry. Listen, no one listens to it anyway. So give us some names. Go on.
On the spot.
Well, I'll go back to last year because he's not a MotoGP yet, but one guy I struggle to understand how he's world champion is Della Porta, if I'm being honest. I didn't really feel like he was such a strong rider last year. And okay, I take my hats off to him. Like, obviously done a fantastic job. He is world champion, but I didn't really feel last year like he was a standout like the likes of your Mir or even your Bender or any of them guys. He just always kind of seemed to be there or thereabouts, but he never dominated.
Well, he didn't win a race, did he, until after halfway point of the season or something like that?
And I mean, what he done at the end of the season, the last three races, I think it was, the overseas races, he won all three of them. Which then, the championship was wrapped up, and that was really impressive. To be able to win three races in a bounce was incredible, and obviously pressure was off. But up until that point, especially on track with him, I didn't really feel like he was anything special. He always seemed to have a fast engine and always seemed to be able to get past people a little bit easier than others on the straights. But I didn't really feel like he was a standout rider.
I think that's something we've said, haven't we? We've said that obviously he could get the bike to come out the corners. That team always prepares a great bike, but interesting, it didn't have a great start to Moto2, did he either? I've got another question for you, John, because you race 125s as well, right at the start. So the 125 2-stroke or the 250 4-stroke Moto3 bike?
What would I prefer? Or
Which one?
Moto3 4-stroke is obviously much fairer racing. So in terms of trying to fight for race wins and winning a championship, it's a much more level playing field. But in terms of actual fun out there enjoying yourself, I would pick 2-stroke any day.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. The idea, because a lot of people then think, Moto3 is nothing like 125 in terms of how it behaves. But you've just said it. They're a hell of a scrap. I mean, it's stressful commentating on it. Never mind being in the thick of it. And if you feel you've got a fairer shot of it, that's got to be great. What is it like? Is it stressful being in a Moto3 race?
Yeah, it's
or fun.
It's unpredictable, I think, is the biggest or the one word I can definitely put against it. It's definitely unpredictable, but it's fun. Yeah, absolutely fun. You have some races where you're maybe struggling to always be there at the front, and you have other races where you feel like you're actually stronger than the group and you could potentially break away. But the long and the short of it is now with Moto3 racing, you basically have to prepare for a 10 to 15 bike scrap every single race at every track. It just seems to be the way that it's going.
And the amount of times where you're in the mix and you could win it or you could finish 15th, that must be so hard to take.
Yeah, there's definitely... I mean, don't get me wrong, there's been a couple of races where that's played into my favour, but there's been a few races where you can sit kind of top 2, top 3, even going back to like the British Grand Prix at Silverstone last year. I was fighting for the victory the whole race, and then with one small error with 2 laps to go, I found myself back in like P7, P8, and there was just no way to then come back forward again. So, if you look at the times, the finish time at the end of the race, it's very rare that kind of P10 is any more than 3 or 4 seconds off the winner. So it is tight and unpredictable, but that's why so many people love it.
What was it, 11 or 12 different winners last year, RG, and we watch it all the time. There'll be some people who only switch on for the big boys, for the big race, But Moto3 delivers every single week, doesn't it?
I can't remember a bad Moto3 race now. You know what I mean? You sit here and you think, when was the last real boring Moto3 race? It doesn't happen. It's so hard for the riders, though. John's talking about it, because you can do nothing wrong. Someone does a really stupid move a couple of laps ago, pushes you wide, and you're done, because you drop instantly to the back of the group. You can pick a few off, but your race is done. So the hard bit about it is it's out of your control, a lot of it. And that builds anxiety, because you're riding, trying to position yourself where you want to be. You've roughly got a plan in your head, but you only need one dive bomb from a Fanati or, well, everyone. You could name Darren Binder.
Dive bomb Darren.
You can name so many riders that are really aggressive and they can spoil your race. So, and which is, at the end of the day, that's your weekend gone. All that work, all that effort. John might have been saving his tyres throughout the race, trying to look after them to have a push with 3 laps to go, and it's your opportunity's gone. So I'm sure it's very frustrating.
Have you kissed and made up with Daz Binder after a couple of times last year?
Yeah, away from the track, I actually got on really well with Darren. He's actually a nice guy.
He's a good lad, isn't he?
Guy. He is.
He's actually he's so laid back off the track, isn't he? Like laid back, almost comatose, like off track, and yet on track he is absolute demon, isn't he?
He is. I have to say, he's one of them guys. You never like saying this because you wouldn't like any rider knowing, but he's one of them guys that you do just have to be a little bit on edge around him, because you just don't know what he's going to do. He's like the master of being unpredictable, because he admits it himself. He doesn't really have brake markers. He doesn't really have any references on track. He just rides with other people, and if you brake, he'll wait kind of 1 or 2 meters and then he'll brake. But like some riders, will be planning all weekend, like really working on that brake marker, and you find, I mean, the majority of riders should be doing this really, but you find a marker that's the latest possible point that you can physically brake at and still make the corner, and then you get to the race and you brake at that point, and Darren's still like full gas beside you and brakes 2 or 3 meters later, and you're just waiting for disaster to happen in front of you.
He's a character, isn't he?
It's entertaining. I'm going to say I love it. I'd hate to race against him, but I think we're all Darren Binder fans, because it's entertaining. Sometimes he does cross the line a little bit, obviously, and make contact with riders.
But there's another thing there, though, Neil, isn't there? That, you know, and John's been in the team that he's been on. We're not going to call it an A team. It's not a Leopard, is it? It's not the Monlau team, the Estrella Galicia team, is it? So do you feel like sometimes it's, I've got to push that a little bit more? Yeah,
there's a bit of that going on, and like I said earlier, we experienced that with John through know certain seasons on teams that weren't as strong. So on those weekends where you're really feeling it and you have got a good setup, you have to make the most of it and get those one-off results so the paddock can look at your season and go, I tell you what, this kid's definitely got some talent. Because it's hard to shine when you are in a C team, B team, C team, whatever you want to call them.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah, and as you managed to do at Brno that time, 2016, John, with the Superman moment in the air where we almost all lost it. Like you had it all under control, though, didn't you? Back in the Czech Republic when you won that race in the wet.
Gav, let me just explain. This was John's first Grand Prix win at Brno. It was a special day. It was pouring down.
Because Cal won later the day. It was a great day for the Brits, wasn't it?
It was, and John got to the lead in the race, in the Moto3 race, and checked out, really. I don't know what second lead. It must have been a 3-second lead or maybe more at one point. But he had this big slide with about 2 laps to go.
Seconds.
So how many seconds was it?
12 seconds.
12 seconds. So explain this near crash you had then with a couple of laps to go.
Well, yeah, obviously it was a wet race, so with the Peugeot that I was riding, it was basically Peugeot with a Mahindra with different branding. They were known for having great chassis, and that year we basically had the perfect setup. The bike was working so well, we just didn't have any power. So it was kind of like you were saying a moment ago, when you have those moments when you feel like you can have a good result, you really have to make the most of it. And we went out in morning warm-up. It had been dry all the way through practice and qualifying, and we were struggling to even be inside the top 10. Then we went out in morning warm-up, and I remember just feeling good instantly, kind of in wet weather. You almost know when you're out lap whether the bike's going to work or whether it's not going to work. And rolling round, and I came round after like 2 or 3 laps in warm up, and it was something like 4 seconds a lap faster than anyone else. So I kind of thought, right, this is my day. This is when it's going to hopefully all come together. And then the race started, and Brad Binder was leading the championship that year, and he made a push, got to the front and started breaking away. And I managed to come through the group and chase down Brad. I caught Brad kind of mid-race distance, and I was riding around really comfortably, and actually kind of started to think of a plan of what I could do at the end of the race, finding out where Brad was strong and where Brad was not so strong. And then I think it must have been, to be honest, I don't remember exactly. I think 7 or 8 laps from the end of the race, went into turn 1, and through no fault of his own, there was a river running across turn 1. Brad high-sided out of turn 1, so next thing I know, I'm in the lead, and I continued to push, but the rain got that heavy that I genuinely couldn't see my pit board. I was looking at my pit board and I just couldn't make out what it was saying. And in them kind of situations, you don't want to look over your shoulder because it's so easy to lose concentration when it's that wet and you're trying to avoid white lines and avoid curbs and hit all your markers. So I was trying my hardest to look, and I was sure the pit board was saying like 1 second, 1.1, 1.2. So I continued to push, thinking there's still 7 or 8 laps here. These guys could potentially catch me. And what I didn't know was the pit board was actually saying like plus 10, plus 11, plus 12. So that was that was basically the story behind it. And looking back now, when I see the reaction of the team when I nearly high-sided at the bottom of Horsepower Hill, they literally probably would have killed me because I had a 12-second lead with about 3 laps to go, and I'm still pushing, thinking that these guys are only kind of 1.5 seconds behind me. And it was actually that moment that made me calm down quite a lot, because after that moment I looked over my shoulder expecting like a group of them to be right on my rear wheel, and I turned around and I couldn't even see anyone at like turn 9 or turn 10, the long right hander at the far end of the circuit. So I then knew, okay, I've got a bit of time here. I can calm down for these last couple of laps.
There were tears in the eyes that day, John, I tell you.
Of all of us.
Yeah, it was
that was a great day.
A fantastic day, and we're so glad you brought it home. And of course, last year in France. But we just don't know when you're next going to be back out on track with another chance to do it. How are you dealing with the not knowing at the moment?
Yeah, it's obviously tough not knowing, but right now there's bigger things going on. You know, the main thing is for the whole world really to get on the road to recovery and to kind of beat this coronavirus. But yeah, on a racing side of things, yeah, obviously I'd love to be back racing, and we're kind of in the position now where we're just waiting for things to hopefully quieten down, and then we'll follow the guidelines of what Dorna have in plan for us. But yeah, extremely excited to get back on the bike again.
I wonder if you're taking this time, away from racing and perhaps not having to train, or not being able to train as much as you normally would, to go through some of the accountancy study manuals again. Explain, Neil.
Well, back to when I first interviewed John, that was the Auburn conversation we mentioned earlier. One of the questions, like I said, this is back in 2014. One of the questions was, okay, and I interviewed all the Brits, so it was like Bradley Smith, Scott Redding, Cal. It was, if you weren't a professional motorcycle racer, what would you do for a living? Most riders were like, I'd work in construction.
Was it Scott Redding said he'd be a gigolo? That
was it. He'd be a gigolo. John, I sat down with John, and he went, I'd be an accountant. I would have been an accountant. And I was like, you know what? An accountant? I have never heard any motorcycle racer ever say that.
And you know what? I'm so glad you've actually brought that back up, because I have no idea where that even came from.
Brilliant.
Not a chance. Absolutely not a chance I would be an accountant.
How's your maths?
I maybe like to think. It's actually not bad. It's not bad. But I can't think of anything worse than having to sit and go through paperwork day after day. So I genuinely, at the time, I was obviously kind of the new
rabbit in the headlights, John.
Yeah, and then I get asked this question, and I'm like, well, better not say I'm going to be a lorry driver, because that's like probably the route I would end up going down. And I didn't really know what to say, so I'm like, probably, I don't know, an accountant.
Brilliant.
I actually don't know where it came from. So,
I love that.
I'm glad we went back, and
I'm glad we've gone back to it.
I am.
I like the backstory of it now. That's even better. I love you even more, John. That's superb.
That makes it even better. Well, maybe you can get back to the books now, John. We'll let you go because we know you've got to go and do something with the MotoGP website. Slightly, less important than us, but nonetheless, you've got to go and do something there. But we do appreciate your time, John. Thanks for stopping by and having a chat, and hopefully we see you out soon, mate.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, take care, mate. We'll see you soon.
Catch up with you guys. Yeah, thank you.
All right, take care.
Safe, and I'll catch you soon. Cheers.
Speak to you soon. Cheers, John. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
John McPhee has left the building, ladies and gentlemen. Neil Hodgson hasn't left the building, though.
Just love him. Just love him.
Top lad, isn't he? And such a nice guy. Such a nice guy.
Do you know what?
And a lovely family as well.
Yeah, good. Yeah, exactly. Great upbringing, let's say. Great family. I think the best compliment I can pay him is he's not like any other motorcycle racer I know. You know, to be a top motorcycle racer, which John clearly is, you need a big ego. You've got to be hard. You've got to take the knocks. And John's just John. He's just happy-go-lucky. If he finished 20th in Qatar, or if he'd won in Qatar, when we see him after the event, obviously he's disappointed if he's had a bad result. But in general, you always get the same John. This really nice kid. He's an intelligent lad. He's fun to be around, and I don't know. I just like I said, he's like my son. I've got a lot of time, a lot of respect, and a lot of love for John McPhee. I really have. I'm not just saying that, and I'm not going to say that. Bear in mind on the podcast, I'm not going to say everybody we speak to. Oh yeah, I love this person so much, but John's because special.
We know some of the people that we're planning to get on, and you definitely don't love all of them. That much is certain. But it's a shame for someone like him if we don't get much more racing this year. I don't want to go into all the contract shenanigans, that kind of thing. But he's got his best chance, hasn't he, that he's ever had, staying in the same excellent team on a good bike, good package, good people around him.
Yes, but yes, it would be, obviously it's a massive shame if no racing goes ahead this year. But he's in a strong position, Gav. That's one thing. Imagine if he had, let's say, had a terrible first round in Qatar and finished 15th, which you can do, because you'd be a couple of seconds off the win. So he's in a strong position. So whatever happens, at least he'll be super chilled at home thinking, well, the team aren't all of a sudden going to announce, well, next year we're going to have to let you go, John, because we don't really think you're cut for this. So he'll be fine.
Yep, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us once more. John McPhee, our guest this time. We've got some more massive guests coming up soon on Gas It Out. We're not going to reveal them just yet, though, but we'll tease you with the fact that you're going to want to listen in. That's fair to say, isn't it, Neil?
All I can say is when one of them who's coming up really soon loves a cup of tea.
Oh, might as well give it away. But anyway, yeah, let's leave it. Let's leave it. I love a cup of tea. But do you know what? I won't make my own. I have to have someone else make it for me.
Well, that's like you with everything. Mr. 5-star diva. I only fly first class. Emmett.
Do you know why, though? Because I'm just rubbish at it. I always make it too strong if I make it. I don't like it strong. I don't like it so the spoon stands up in it.
See, I do.
Some people like that sort of thing, don't they? Right. What have you got on then for the rest of the weekend?
Well, from now pretty much till Sunday. Obviously, we've got the BT programme on Sunday, so I've got to set up the studio, believe it or not, here.
You've got to film yourself doing that, please. Get Vic to film that, please.
Honestly, Gav, you've got the same amount of kit. There's lighting equipment. There's all sorts.
I've had another one arrive today. An extra couple of lights.
Oh, no. And you're going to be flat out. You're interviewing all the riders, aren't you?
Yeah, so I'm hoping in my office up here where I'm recording this now, I'm going to spin the chair around and hopefully on my TV I'm going to have, just the likes of Max Biaggi, Seta Gibernau, Jorge Lorenzo and Valentino Rossi, yeah? in my
No
ridiculous office. Yes.
You're going to interview Valentino Rossi from your office?
Well, to be honest, he hasn't said yes yet, but we're hoping.
Oh, that'd be good. That'd be so good if we can get him.
Oh my God. Yeah. So I'm nervous about that because they'll be looking at my decor.
So when you get him, when you get like the live connection, and I don't know if you're going to do it a Skype call or however it's going to work. Obviously, this is for the BT show. Can we just, because we've got him, just steal him? You call me and go, right, here you are on Gas It Out.
Yes.
We're just Nick Valentino Rossi.
I'll try and do
Guest
it.
number 4.
That will go down like a turd baguette, won't it?
Oh, I just pictured it then. The baguette, that is.
Yeah, well, that's what I've got coming up this weekend. So I've got lots of prep to do while cutting this up and putting this out. So anyway, I suppose we better crack on with it. So
yeah, let's crack on.
Cheers, Neil. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of the weekend, and I'll speak to you on Sunday.
Speak to you on Sunday live on BT Sport 1.
BT Sport 1, big time. We've hit the big time. Yes, cheers. Thanks everyone for listening. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.